Ah, that's exactly how I like to kick this off. Welcome back, one and all, to the Age of Empires 4 action for a fun hoedown, a showdown in custom games between Numidan playing as the Ayubids, and on the other side of it, well, you might actually be getting familiar with his name like that by now because we watch so much of him at the moment. It is, of course, Louis MT playing as the Ottomans. Interesting matchup here, actually. Ayyubids versus Ottomans. I was just saying before we got into this is a matchup that I feel like it slightly favors Ottomans. I think they have some really good ramp-up timings here. But this is a matchup between two really tricky players. Obviously, you know, Louis needs no introduction. I don't think Numidan does either. In terms of their play styles, I do think that Numidan maybe is a little bit of a mismatch. I think some of this really impressed me with Louis is the way that he plays the early mid-game very aggressively, and I just realized something. Apologies 1 second. I may have been playing some games last night. We won't talk about those. There we go. Now we can actually do all the things we want to do. So yeah, Louis actually really is just my stand-up player of 2024, I think. I think his rate of improvement and the way he's actually starting to show up has me excited as we aren't too far out from the first tournament of 2024. Numidan, on the other hand, is a surprise as well. I think he's got to prove himself a little bit more to me. I think some of that's interesting about Numidan is he probably has the most consistent placement in hyper late games. In fact, of the week of casting, he has been stomped by wonder victories 3 times this week alone. Like, this guy right now, he has been in more wonder victories in Age of Empires 4 that I've cast than I think I've ever cast. It's insane, at least in 1v1. So I think that's maybe one of the critical weaknesses of Numidan, is that he tends to lean for a later timing in the game. But that's why I thought it'd be intriguing to see this matchup, because he's playing as the Ayyubids, a civ that don't really lean into a hyper late game scenario, right? They're more about these aggressive timings, these windows of opportunity in the early and in the mid. Let's find out what you can do here. I just know some people saying in chat, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I know you guys have been enjoying the cast. Nah, I'm kidding. You're talking about Cal. Thank you to Cal, actually, for giving the tools for the Chiefs of War Chief. Hopefully, we've got more Chiefs of War Chief coming. It better be coming soon. I take credit for Cal because he was also my observer behind the scenes, updating the UIs because I couldn't remember to. This is the type of person I am. Although he never does predictions when he's in my chat. Anyway, let's see how the predictions are looking on this one, because I'm curious how people are feeling. Right now, people are banking on Louis. Wow. I guess that would be a safe bet here, right? Like, I think Louis, because he plays that more aggressive playstyle that we just opened up talking about, you would probably lean into his camp in this particular matchup, unless Numidan can do something that poses a threat. However, his opening isn't going to do any threatening things at all on the map. He goes for the Eco Wing growth instead of the reinforcement, so he doesn't even have an answer directly to these spears to begin with. And that's a bit worrying, actually, because Numidan kind of has an awkward spawn. Ford gold, Ford berries. And that Spearman can easily reach that gold without any threat to him, so I think it's quite critical here for Numidan that if this is going to be your classic gluttonous fast castle Ayyubid build, like it always is, you're going to need to go very quickly into outpost defenses here. Meanwhile, Madrasa coming out on the other side of this. So, growth also, wow. That might be the most berry exhausting I've seen. No, he'll be fine. It's just 2 patches. Yeah, this is pretty common right now. Like, if you want to level up your game, if you want to maybe do someone better than the pros right now, I've noticed all bar 1 or 2 pros keep making this mistake with Growth Wing. They gather the entirety of the initial berry patches, and it means that they are basically missing out on an extra 100 food at a superior gathering rate in their base. It's a really big issue right now. I think this is something that's going to be optimized. I think it's very reminiscent to me of what we used to see from the HRE, where they used to move the sheep to the other side of the TC to be in Arkenchapel range for superior gathering rates. It's just something that people have to remember to do. It's going to take a bit of time. It's just foreign to what you're used to doing, because if you thought about it without Growth Wing included, going to other berry patches is just inefficient, obviously, right? Because you're bypassing the closer food source for the further one away. Realistically, it shouldn't make much of a difference to your timings overall, because you eventually have to exhaust this, but in the interim, you're missing out on a burst potential of better gathering rates to get into your initial units. However, with this civ, and with this build, it just makes so much sense to forgo that slightly extra boost to the early food gatherings of the 2 berry patches to gain that extra 100. Especially if you think that you're going to be playing a very condensed game, which Numidan most definitely is here. right? Like, he's gone under the stone. That's just the outpost. He's already dropped one outpost here. A little bit of torch damage did come in, but this is all about just getting what he needs for the arrow slits upgrade. Meanwhile, on the other side of this, Louis already up to 3 of the Spearmen. They have all been passively produced, mind you. He didn't pay a single penny for any of these pretty lads. He's going to be moving out for more military schools. So I'm expecting a quite all-in approach from Louis. I think people quite quickly have ID'd that dealing with the Ayyubids, it's just about identifying what you're up against immediately at the beginning of the game and then pressuring it. Some civs will try to go for Castle Age. There's 1 or 2 that can actually get away with it. But most are just going to trail, right? That's the problem, is Ayyubids come in so quickly with their Castle Age due to the advancement wing that you can't compete. So I like this approach from Louis. Immediately pulls 2 villages. And when was the last time you saw the Ottomans tower rush? Dove coming in now. Numidan just trying to rush up a tower here. Spearmen are going to try to pinch one. Villager won't be found, though. Scout's taking a lot of damage, but right now the goal here is just to delay to get your tower up first. But I don't know if it's going to be quick enough here. Arafat continue to flurry out. Spearmen have to back away, so Louis is not going to get the tower up here. Numidan will be able to now snipe out those villages. Great read there. Numidan a little bit greedy not to react instantly with the outpost, but in some ways this was better, right? Like, there was a lot more idle time, yes, but also a bigger investment from Louis. Louis, who had to pull 2 villages. Louis, who now has no use for these 2 villages here. And Louis, who also lost the scout, which is awkward now as a follow-up, because when we do crack the Castle Age, you can bet your damn butts off we're going to go there, he doesn't have vision on what's going to be coming. That's a risky proposition, because it could be the Camel Lancers, it could be the Ghulams, and those 2 options change heavily how you react to this play. I do think that Louis is probably going to opt to counter the Ghulams, because I think Ghulams right now are more popular at the moment for the Ayyubids, especially on shorter maps. Camel Lancers as well would kind of feel weird when you've already seen Spears, right? So it'd be quite funky of Numidan to play into that. And I also think the other issue you'd have with Lancers over Ghulams is that Lancers are about building a slight lead, right? Like, over time. It's the same thought process as building Knights, right? Go in, raid, kill a villager, go out, 20, 30 seconds later, come in, do it again, rinse, repeat. That doesn't work very well against the Ottomans because of all the passive reduction they scale into. You're much better suited going towards a dive and stay there type comp, and that's something that Ghulams give you. However, when you get there, you might be in trouble, because check what's happening. Louis, he's holding up. He's definitely heading into Castle Age here. And I love the fact that he's actively producing into the scout. I say actively, I think it's passively, right? No, that was actively. And also, the Imam's already pulling out for the relics. This is pretty cool. I think this is another reason why quite often, like, Ottomans are probably going to be favored against Ayyubids, is they have a reasonable Castle Age timing in relativity to the Ayyubids. They have 3 units to try and harass and delay the timings, which he did delay the timing bit. And then they have this double point Imam pull that allows them to yoink 2 relics away. And as we know, Ayyubids, this tech up, it's all about the follow-up. The follow-up is always going to be a moss drop into the Cambulances. Looks like we are going to be getting the double Lancer pump here. And there's some interesting discussion going on from Kaz Johan wondering if he did just go for Ghulams, how would the Ottomans stop it? I think the way you stop it, you'd have to rush your own Castle Age. That's kind of an obvious one, right? But then you just need to hard pump crossbows would be my recommendation. I don't think Janissaries is a terrible choice, right? You could actually opt for a few Jannies to try and protect you. You could even maybe pump the Vizier point if you're desperate, but obviously with fast castle build, Ottomans aren't going to have that many points. I do think that the fact that Numidan went into Camel Lancers actually makes his play worse here. This is one of the civs that you can't go Camel Lancers against, because we already highlighted that there's an issue with eco-chipping against Ottomans. It doesn't work. But there's another issue as well. This is possibly the worst civ for you to build Camel Lancers against. Not only has he opened with spears, he also can get Janissaries in Castle Age, which counters Lancers perfectly. So this feels like a bit of a wonky play. Now, admittedly, the Lancer might be in time to stop the Imam over here, so that's a plus side. However, with 4 spears in the area, even though they are Dark Age, still enough that they could actually hold this back. Not to mention the fact they've got the attack speed aura, they've also got the AoE heal. So, Numidan, this is kind of a tough one. He's like, well, I guess I'm here now. And yeah, okay, so he doesn't get the charge out, and immediately look at the damage he's taking. Yeah, not worth. And it's going to get worse still. Numidan, he gets pinched here. Louis getting more damage in. Gets rid of one of the camel lances. And pushes the other away. Relic successfully retrieved. Wall on the other side is going to be a wall or no. I think that is reasonable from Louis, though. Like, he couldn't go for both relics, splitting forces to guard both. He had to choose one. It did have to be the safe relic in the end, but that was a logical play here. Up against the cambulances, they're always going to play for your relics first because they have the mobility to do so. And, well, Louis, can you get the body blocks? Yes! Yes! You beautiful son of a gun! This man could be a Dota player. Unfortunately, I think he needs to get in front of it again. He's not doing that, though, so it looks like the spears might struggle to stop the ambulance. It will get quite close to the base before going down. Dude, I love seeing people body block in situations like that. That was such a smart read. Up against the side of the cliff there, no option for Numidan to go around, so it just slows him down long enough to stab into that. And now, look where the Imam is heading. Straight over for that relic down the center. Upgrades in the meantime have come in. Veteran Spearmen in the field. And guess what, folks? Well, Numidan's trying to transition archers. That's not a desirable, comfortable thing to do when you're up against the Mehmed Imperial Armory, because you know there's a Mangonel coming if you're Numidan. Like, it's obvious it's on the way. In fact, it's just 50 seconds out now. On top of that, archers, although they may counter spears, there's plenty of things that don't care about them in this age up, right? Now, the one upside about Numidan's comp is if he somehow maintains lead, that whole idea of spear Jannies to kill him doesn't work, right? Because archers camel lancers. But I feel like your army is so much harder to execute than Louis. Louis is, I don't want to call it brain dead, but he kind of is, right? Like, he more or less can win off the back of good A-clicks. I say good A-clicks, just A-clicks alone. Charge coming in. Imam's not going to go down, though, and more spearmen coming out. This is turned into a mess. Numidan gets out microed. Louis able to protect the Imam, and now with this many spears, no doubt in my mind, this relic should be unattainable for Numidan. Numidan does at least have relics coming elsewhere. He has another safe relic over here, so it's going to be a 3-2 split for the Ayubids, but I don't know if that's enough with this type of play. Like, with the investment you've just made and what you've lost, you can see it in the destroyed value. Louis has been trading 3 times better than Numidan. And also, we're now deep enough into the game, he got the Vizier points for the 4th military school. So, 4 military schools, a Mehmed Imperial Army worth of passive production. Numidan only has a 6 eco lead. He only has 1 additional relic over what Louis is going to have. This isn't exactly what I'd call a strong and desirable position for the Ayyubids. Now, it is a little bit better by the fact that he has a 15% gathering rate because it's higher than what the tooltip says. But that still really does not make up for Castle Age passive production. He's going to need to fight well to take the lead in this game. And as we already highlighted, because of the simplicity of execution of Louis' type of comp, he has to fight incredibly well. So, Numidan is already getting into the tech upgrades. We've got Steel Arrow coming through. No undermesh yet from Louis. A little bit surprised by that. But obviously he doesn't see the archers yet, right? I mean, you'd assume archers are coming out, you'd think here, right? Like, it does make sense why Ayyubids would go archers in this matchup. Oof, almost a free pinch there. Sacred Site's now being locked in, so Numidan trying to escalate that eco lead we talked about because he needs to be ahead here. He needs to feel like he's 12 to 15 eco units ahead. Right now he's only 7 plus 1 Sacred Site, so 9. And well, speaking of that eco lead, it's about to disappear. Louis, this is kind of surprising. People wouldn't normally do this here, I feel like. But it makes sense when you consider that Louis walled himself in. In fact, this is kind of crazy, but what if Louis literally just doesn't produce units actively? I don't want to say it, because I don't want to jinx it. But what if this is just a rush for Imperial Age? That would be too greedy, right? I mean, would it be that greedy? I guess with the food source, it feels greedy, because he doesn't have much food access right now is my issue with that play. Oh, Villager gets spotted trying to put the wall up. So, Numidan will be able to break in here, and now he'll be able to discover the fact that there's a second TC. Garrison's going to come out. Louis running for the high hills. Spearmen are on the way across to defend this, but they are going to be slow. However, Numidan not really finding much with this dive. Loses the Dervish, could end up losing a second unit in Lancer. and only kills one villager. The problem is he can't dive elsewhere, right? Now, one thing that Numidan does have going for him in the next 2 or 3 minutes is what you're seeing there with the Springald. He has the ability to build this siege in the field, so theoretically, Louis shouldn't be able to dictate these fights with his siege. And that's probably going to force Louis to consider doubling down on real investments, right? Not just relying on passive income here, or passive production, rather, to keep him in the game. Lancers need to be careful, actually. The 2 mangoes do quite a lot of damage when you're standing torching like this. Unfortunately, Louis isn't choosing to opt for that strategy right now. And also, yeah, decap these. I'm kind of shocked that Louis is able to keep these sacred sites this long, considering he's got a full turtle approach here. Crossbows and knights now being added in as well. Kind of surprised by the knights. You typically don't see knight production up against the Ayyubids because the Camelanese screws you over. But seems to have confidence in something here. Springalds. Second in pump in time. So Louis able to back up for the time being. Burn comes through. Numidan now breaking into the base. A lot of torches here. 13 lances. And they're already into his passive production area. And there's the desperation play we were waiting for. Louis immediately pulls maximum Janissaries. This is do or die for the Ottomans. Numidan. One down. Go for the blacksmith. The blacksmith's the most logical player here to slow down and hold all the other production, but instead seems he's a bit slower about his approach. He backs away for the moment, sends 2 camel lancers in. He catches the farm transition in its infancy here. So you should now know that Louis is very food desperate at this stage. He's running out fast, right? The berries over here are all that's left. And then it's farms or bust. Numidan backing away, though, and I think this is a common issue we've seen with Numidan, is kind of like reaching a strong point and then playing for a later timing, right? It's something that some players use very well. I think BC's a perfect example. If he feels like he's going to be stronger, he'll pull away every time. He's the #1 example of that for a lot of people. My concern is I don't think as this game goes on, you get stronger unless you take fights. Louis, like, I don't even think Numidan saw the Janissary point pull. Maybe he suspects it, but he doesn't know, right? Well, looks like it did just stop off the mangonel. Has come back again. And he's going to start burning in here. So military schools are going to be going down. Second one to hit the deck. Louis, though, has got 3 mangonels. Make that 2. As one goes down to the Springalds. Knights trying to backstab. No easy opportunity here. And the mango shots are now starting to come in. Janissaries have to dive towards this. Trade out. Mangoes are going to be taken out here. But the stand ground from Numidan is not going to work out well. The attack speed aura is just too good. And Louis is able to push him back. Heavy costs on both sides here, but very heavy for Numidan. The Camel Lancer count down to 9, and most of them heavily injured here. Spimmin count still looking healthy, and my concern is the fact that if these Camel Lancers are ever gone, then this play into Knights by Louis is going to be a smart one. Continues to push on out. Spearmen are struggling here, right? Like, the archers are the ultimate counter, but with the knights now starting to arrive, things get a little bit weird, and you feel like you actually have the solution to these archers. But notice that Numidan, he's keeping the camel lancers just in range to give that aura. After all is said and done, though, Numidan still has military mass on his side, but he did lose all the siege. Louis now prepping for the Springals. However, Louis did lose half of his passive production military schools. Already rebuilt one over here, though. Does need to get a blacksmith in range. But farm transition is going well, though. I think despite how shaky that looked and how Numidan looked like he took a good fight, my concern is the eco lead is now growing for Louis, and he has the farms to sustain himself. Remember, the Ottomans, because of the way they function around military schools, they don't really need much active production to field an army at this stage. It helps, but right now, all he needs to start off with is enough farms to cover his cost of villager production on both TCs. And then after that, he'll pump it into wood and convert it into food. And once we reach that stage, I think that's where we're going to see a very big ramp up into many more spears and many more knights. He definitely has just enough gold to last that. In fact, Louis, now moving out the base, is he going to try to get a keep together? I mean, he needs stone for another military school, but I think a keep drop is maybe even more important here. Great attempts on the backside. Numidan really just starting to restrict the movement of Louis here. I think the problem now for Louis is if he's not got all the military schools up, which he's now fixing, he hasn't got active production going at maximum rate, he is on the clock here. We are 8 minutes away from a victory for Numidan, and Numidan, well, he's posturing for a fight. Understandably so, right? He's got the mangoes being built up, he's got the spruils as well. Louis, he's got his work cut out for him here. If this game went another 10 minutes, I think we start to look at a game where Louis is favored here, right? But Numenor understands that. He doesn't want to let that come. So he's going to march out. Mango shot, a little bit awkward. Only hits a few knights there. Archers are sniping out the aura, though. That's a freebie, Louis! That felt like a missed micro, and the wallop from the Mango on the backside. Lead now building for Numenor, and Numenor sees the opportunity on the north side here. He did spot Louis moving out of the base. So we'll push him back behind the walls. And that's critical, folks, because look at the stone right now. If he goes on this stone outcropping, he'll have enough for a keep drop. That's the only way he's going to be able to start stabilizing these fights. But instead... Hold on a second. No. Numenor, every game I've watched of Tower of the Sultan, it's a loss for the Tower. No, he can't do this. There's no way it wins, right? One's in chat if Tower of the Sultan is OP. Two's if Numenor just burnt 1,000 resources. Anything but twos is wrong here. Now, we ignore Dinky. Dinky, who won a game only with the Tower of Sultan, only because he got carried by 2 more people. I'm sorry, Dinky. I gotta throw shade. Here we go. The overcompensating structure has been constructed. Why? What does it matter? Here we go. In he goes. 800 damage to these walls. It 2 hits them. Meanwhile, raid attempts coming out from the Knights are not going to bear much fruit here. Lancers were already patrolling. Numenor now with the dive. Remember, this Tower of the Sultan, the reason you pay 1,000 resources, it does come equipped with 4 bows with 8 tower range each, as well as a giga-charged ram in the center. Not to mention the higher HP pool, 800. Oy, oy, oy. Well, you had answers before, Louis. What's the answers now? It looks like he's going into Sipahi, but once again, this is more Cav versus Camel Lancers, right? And the Camel Lancer count has reboomed. It's now up to 11 on the front side again, and there's plenty more in the field waiting to come back for the main engagement. Now up to... Is that... All right. Are we going for 5 Manganiques here? I think we are. Oh, my. Make that 6. Oh, my goodness. Someone is about to have a very fun fight, and it is not Louis. Louis at risk of losing more here. Tower Sultan is getting sniped out, though. The Spiral's a good solution. Wait, was that a bait by Numenor? Is that what this was about? Something to absorb? Springled fire? No, surely not. I mean, for that price, you could buy 2 more Springles. Overzealous Camel Lancer jumps the gun before the rest of the army's ready to go, but here we go. Starting to march in. Springles need that trade out. Louis not giving it, though. He backs away, but the cost is high here. He's now going to lose the Siege Workshop as well, which is how he's getting those Springles. Charge comes through, though. Camel Lancers, they peel back. Archers standing their ground. The Mango shot's coming in heavy here. And I think this should be just enough for Numenor to hold this. All he needs is meat on the front line. The Mangoes are the premium product here. And there's plenty to reap this summer. 5 smashing into that front side. Louis down to no standing military. This is over. Numenor, great control in the center and great timing here. You know, looked a bit shaky. Looked like he might give Louis away back in this game. But Numenor, he took the correct approach. He raided initially, and then he backed away, understanding that the way Louis was playing this game on 2 CCs was unsustainable. He essentially ate himself into oblivion. Although he's got an insane eco lead here, he didn't have any way of really using it efficiently. That farm transition killing him in this game, as it often does for many a player. Gives Numenor the win. It gives Ayyubids a good showing. I think this matchup, like I've seen ways that Ayyubids can beat them, but I think of traditional standards, like Ottomans handle this matchup quite well. But Numenor, I think really the kicker here was the way that he locked his opponent into his own base. A lesson for anyone who wants to find a way of beating the Ottomans with your filthy Ayyubid spamming.